everyone. Thanks for joining us again this week. I'm Natalie and I'm happy to see you, even though we all know I can't actually see you. I wish I could. Okay, so this week I will be talking about anger. The letter I got goes like this. Dear Natalie, I hope you can help me with this anger problem I seem to have developed. I got divorced about 1.5 years ago, and I went through a couple of months where I was a sad, pathetic wreck. I couldn't concentrate for I barely slept. I ate like you get the picture. After I got past that, I found that I was really angry. I was angry at my ex. I was angry at women who had bullshit starry eyes for their average boyfriends and husbands. I was angry at the future that I thought I was going to have, that it was totally ruined. And I sort of understand all of that. It makes sense, right? But the kicker was that I was angry about inequality. And I'm not talking about the wage gap. I'm talking about being over how women are treated in really specific situations. Let me give you a recent example. I was talking with a group of acquaintances about how I enjoy solo backpacking, going on and on about serenity and nature, blah, blah. One of these dudes is like, what about your boyfriend? Doesn't he go with you? Does he like backpacking too? And of course, my internal thought was mostly something like, for real, dude? But what I said was, I don't have a boyfriend, and that's interesting because I never hear guys get questions like that. No one asks guys, hey, what about your girlfriend? Does she like backpacking? The dude started backpedaling like, oh, no, I'd totally ask a man the same thing. But no, he wouldn't. You and I both know that. Whatever. It was just a small thing, but I dwelled on it for like a week afterward. And the more I thought about it, the more rage I felt. I need some ways of getting rid of this because I'm going to be a bitter woman if I don't. Sincerely, angry as hell. I believe that may have been my most dramatic rendering of one of the letters I received. So I'd like to thank the Academy. But no, so I think we've all been in this place. I think it's a human experience to have that really intense rage. It may not have been following a divorce, but I think we all can sort of empathize with this feeling of just overwhelming ire and rage and fury and how it burns in the chest, and it really can become all-encompassing. And so I know I've said this in previous episodes, but it's worth noting that anger is not a state of being. We do say things like, I'm angry, but in actuality, we are not angry. Rather, we're receiving a message of anger that's telling us how we're interacting with a certain situation or how we're interacting with the world. And anger in particular, anger as an emotional messenger, conveys the idea that we're passionate about something. We feel that something could change from the way it is now. We feel like something we really value is being disrespected or denigrated in some way. So anger has a really specific message about what matters to us. And in this sense, it really makes a lot of sense that, of course, immediately following her divorce, angry, let's call her AAH, it really makes sense that she would feel so angry immediately following her divorce. After all, she probably had big expectations about what her life would be like, and perhaps she felt like those were disrespected. Perhaps she felt like her husband disrespected things that were meaningful to her. Perhaps she viewed her new post-divorce reality and felt like things could be different from the way they were. And so it makes sense that she felt anger. And it also makes sense that she would feel some amount of anger toward other people in relationships. She may see through some of the relationship artifice that we all sort of put on when we're in new relationships and we're gaga and we're not seeing things clearly, and, you know, the birds sing and they weave flowers through our hair. That's a phase, right? And she, angry as hell, AAH, knew that firsthand. And so, of course, she would have a very passionate response of, I think the reality of relationships may be denigrated by this. I think things could be different from the way they are now. Something I value is maybe honesty and virtue in relationships, and these starry-eyed people aren't exactly honest, even though they're not being purposely deceitful either. So in any case, it makes sense that she would have this angry reaction. But of course, long-term anger really takes its toll on the old system, you know, and we can't maintain that level of anger. All these hormones are released and our blood flows rapidly and our heart boom, 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 right? And I mean, you're bound to have a heart attack if you're angry all the time. I mean, that's no joke. So obviously she has to do some things in the short term just to mitigate some of those really strong physical reactions. And there's going to be a link below to in the American Psychiatric Association. It actually may be the American Psychological Association, apologizing right now to all of my colleagues who are both psychiatrists and psychologists, because evidently I group you together in my brain. But there will be a link below, and it's a really good link with a variety of relaxation techniques. These are basic, they don't solve the message of anger, but they certainly allow the body to relax a little bit so that dear AAH doesn't have a coronary event. In order to really get to the bottom of the issue, I think AAH needs to think about this issue of equality. So she's noticing really systemic issues now, and she's getting angry about them. It's moved past her personal pain and her personal experiences, and now she's seeing what are often called microaggressions, and she's getting really angry about them. And so obviously she can't single-handedly change the status of women and women-identified people in the world, but she can really pinpoint the real source of the anger. So she can say, to go back to what I said at the very beginning, she can say, what about these microaggressions are causing me to feel like something's being denigrated or disrespected? Or is there something I think I can change about this? Or do these denote something that I think should be changed? If so, what? Is this tapping into something I highly value and I feel like that value is being disrespected? So by understanding her anger as a message, she can work on decoding the message, and from there she can take appropriate, effective actions. If she believes that the experience of women in the wilderness is being disrespected and misunderstood, she can get to work in organizations that help promote the profiles of women in the outdoors. If she feels like these are tapping into deeper issues like women's safety or, women surviving various violence or actual physical aggression, she can get involved with her local sexual assault response team or her local battered women's shelter. So it's really a matter of decoding that message of anger, figuring out what specifically it's tapping into, and then determining, is there an action, a concrete action I can take to address what this is tapping into, so that I can feel like I'm not just a victim of anger, but rather I'm using my anger in a really productive, effective way to address whatever systemic issues are contributing to the emotion in the first place. That was a mouthful. I'm exhausted. I'm gonna go for a week. See you next time. Bye.